Hi, my name is Patrick Carroll, and I'm a student at Cork Institute of Technology, and this is my presentation on virtual reality. For me, virtual reality has always been intertwined with gaming, but this is a notion I just assumed and never even looked further into, until now. Virtual reality was first conceived in the 1950s, when a young electronical engineer named Douglas Engelbart became interested in computer technological advances and wanted devices to serve more of a purpose than just number crunching. At the time, computers were seen as a very single-focused device with little practical applications, but many had the foresight to see the potential future in the technology. As with most great ideas, it was first dismissed, but the 1960s led to some of the biggest breakthroughs in the field, with Ivan Sutherland and the ultimate display and his swords of Damocles, Thomas Furness and Super Cockpit, and Myron Krieger and artificial reality. These laid the foundations and building blocks that would form the basis for virtual reality as we know it today. But one major drawback was a lack of fast computing power of the time. In the last 10 years or so, computer hardware and graphical processing units have advanced to a level which we can work in conjunction with these VR interfaces. The drawbacks previously were not having the capability to project the images to the lenses with enough clarity, and the lenses themselves were too big and unwieldy for ease of use and too expensive for public access. Current VR headsets, which are often referred to as head-mounted displays, come in many different shapes but mostly the same sizes. Two of the industry leaders now would be HTC and their Vive, and Facebook and their Oculus. Although their premium price points can't appeal to a wider range of the consuming public, mobile headsets exist at a budget price for a budget experience. These mobile headsets rely on the mobile device being used, which is mostly mobile phones, and uses the sensors of the phone and splitting the screen in two to emulate more expensive headsets. Higher-end headsets, like the HTC Vive and Oculus, have lenses that focus and reshape the picture for each eye, and thus creates a stereoscopic 3D image by angling both 2D images to mimic how each of our eyes view the world differently. Frame rates on these headsets are much greater than your general consumer-based computer monitor. Anything below 60 frames per second can induce motion sickness. Thus, most devices operate in a range between 90 and 120 frames per second. Head tracking in these headsets uses a system called 6 degrees of freedom. This plots your head in terms of X, Y, and Z axes to measure the user's head movement in a horizontal and vertical space. Headsets are also low latency with an average of 30 milliseconds and contain gyroscopes, accelerometers, and magnetometers. These sensors relay information with minimal latency in order to create a smoother and realistic experience. Another portion of the market is split to AR or augmented reality. This is overlaying visual enhancements over real-life footage. A good example of this would be Pokemon Go and its ability to merge reality and gaming. Another example would be Microsoft's HoloLens, which augments the user's vision with a visor that can combine reality and augmentation. To a lesser extent, Google tried this with their Google Glass, but as an early adaptation on primitive hardware, this venture failed. While visual means is an important component, what about the tangible means of input? Well, gladly these come in a vast variety. These tangible means come in a large range. While Oculus and Vive, along with a few others, have their own proprietary control mechanisms, including a more immersive feel and integration, one of the most popular forms of tangible input is the Leap motion controller. While classified as tangible, it is far from traditional. The device creates a three-dimensional interaction space of about 8 cubic feet above the device and a close range of an inch above the controller. It senses hands and fingers with precision, without visible delays, and allows the user's hand to be completely free and less restricted. The one drawback is there is no haptic feedback to the user, which again acts as a break in immersion. Haptic feedback, which is defined as the use of touch to communicate with users, and is quite common, we just don't realise. We have had this technology in the past. For instance, good examples of this are game controller rumbles and of course mobile phone vibrate settings. There is much more of a focus on different methods of implementation moving forward, including a weight detection-based gloves and full haptic bodysuits. Other tangible devices include game controllers such as the Xbox One controller, which was originally paired with the Oculus, the Omni treadmill by Virtuex, which allows users full 360 degrees movement while engaged in a circular treadmill, and the usage of native command devices such as keyboard and mouse. My topic lies in the field of medical application. Around the world, both virtual and augmented reality are being implemented in a range of different manners and methods. These include, but are not limited to, helping and comfort of dementia patients, the assistance of people with mental health issues, and even with children on the autism spectrum. It is an ever-expanding field of research, and an important one. Take for example the University of Basel. They have a full working 3D environment in which surgeries can be performed in practice without the use of cadavers which were previously used. The implementation of VR in this field is sure to spark other medical sectors like dentistry. This is a practical implication which is used to pave the way for instructional usages in other industries such as computer engineering and mechanics. Another example is a project which is currently being implemented in Australia called The Forest. This system uses augmented reality as a basis for therapy and calming in relation to condition of dementia. The implementation of a system of calibrated soothing sounds paired with visuals covering a room through holographic projection. This acts as both therapy method and also as a medium for memory retention in patients and has been so far successful. There is also an overlap in the field of medical usage in education. Currently, the biggest usage of VR in the educational field is primarily used in relation to telerobotics, which is the control and usage of robots using VR headsets. These are often used in pharmaceutical clean rooms as it is seen as a cleaner and safer way of handling the materials without human interference. A recent patent on the usage of inflatable actuators in virtual reality will be of additional benefits to the medical industry. Our biggest drawback currently in VR is feeling immersed completely. With these actuators, especially in a medical field, they could be programmed for the detection of cancer-based lumps and expand upon the University of Basel's 3D environment with more precise surgery tutorials. The future of virtual and augmented reality is looking quite bright. Based on predicted projections from 2015 to the year 2021, the market for both are growing at an extremely fast rate, and while AR is poised to still be ahead of VR, both mediums' future is very reliant on each other as both exist within the same industry sector. The biggest factor to consider is that the consumer market is now amounting for the largest share of purchases, which is a figure of 15.6% of overall hardware sales. This figure may not seem significant, but it is. The more hardware and devices we can get in people's hands to access means the more software that is poised to be produced. As our future becomes more technologically focused, we sometimes don't see a device's full potential until much later in its life cycle. In relation to virtual and augmented reality, this is the case. While medical implementation is still in an infantile state, as the headset progress, the potential of what it can achieve is only suppressed by our own imaginations.